And anger is not one of the fun emotions, but we all experience it at one time or another. Some of us more often than we would like. I know that for most of my life, anger was my go-to emotion. If something wasn't working the way I wanted, I'd get angry. If I saw something that wasn't fair, I'd get angry. And if I heard about atrocities in the world, I'd get angry. It was a rough way to live. Ages ago, many years ago, when I was in the military, I had to pay attention to the news for several weeks. I was up for Airman of the Month, and I had to be able to discuss current events during my interview. At the time, we were in the middle of the Iran hostage crisis. That was really tense time, and every day we're bombarded with negativity and anger. I got so angry about everything that was going on and all the bad things that people were doing that after my interview, I didn't read a newspaper or watch the news for over 20 years. It was not worth the impact all that anger had on my mind and body. And I knew my intention was if there was anything I really needed to know, someone would tell me. So I didn't have to subject myself to that anger coming at me. The thing is, that was just one unresolved instance of anger. We all have experiences that happen throughout life that bring up anger. And each time we get angry and don't address what causes the anger, it accumulates. And over time, more things are going to trigger our anger. I thought by not being exposed to the news and what was going on in the world that I could avoid getting angry. I was pretty naive about that. There's plenty of stuff right in my own backyard. So I was seeing the ugly things happening around me just through interacting in life. Just things happen. I would get angry at all the little unfair and thoughtless things people did, or things that were being, I guess, determined for me by government and everything. And it went on for a long time, and I was feeling angry way too often. And then one day I realized I was over the top angry for something so trivial, it was ridiculous. I mean, I can't even remember what it was. I just know I couldn't believe I was angry about it. And I had to step back and just ask a simple question. Why am I so angry about this? Why am I so angry? Evelyn Whitehood, in her book, Shadows of the Heart, writes, "My anger is trying to tell me something. Anger always carries information, but its message is seldom immediately clear. Befriending anger includes finding ways to retrieve this message." I recently noticed that I was getting angry with my mom, and it was way out of proportion for what was going on. I had to ask that question again. Why am I so angry? It wasn't what she was doing now. When I asked that question, I realized it was the resentment I'd harbored from my childhood. And I thought that I had gotten over that, forgiven my mom, because we would go on vacation and have a great time. But that was only for a week or two a year, and we were on vacation. Now I'm here all the time, and the anger was getting bad. So I had to look at that resentment and let it go, because it's not who I want to be. So just figuring out what was going on, release some of the anger. Because anger is not a baseline emotion. It's an outlet for deeper feelings, for things that are going on under the surface. I mean, we're never angry without experiencing something deeper. It may come from a feeling of being out of control or feeling there's nothing we can do about something. It can come from feeling helpless. It may be a reaction to being hurt or feeling pain or feeling less than, and it can be triggered by resentment. Whatever anger is telling us is going to be personal to each one of us because our experiences are unique and we attach our own meaning to them. It's nothing that there's a cookie cutter book out there that's going to tell you what's underlying the anger you may be feeling. You have to figure it out. Philip Johnson, who is an expert in anger management, says, identifying the true root causes of your anger can take a lot of courage. No one likes to admit that they are responsible for their own negative behaviors. I think it does take courage to look at the experiences that trigger our anger or that form so many of our beliefs and ideas that come out in anger. And I think, well, I know that I have some experiences that I really don't want to look at. They're painful. I don't want to feel the pain. But since I don't want to look at it, I get to feel a lot more anger. It's worth the work to go back and look. Even if I just take one facet at a time, and even that can be overwhelming. But as you take those little pieces, you uncover so much that's going on underneath the surface, and you can get rid of a lot of anger. And if you start to feel overwhelmed when you're doing the work, just allow yourself to leave the rest for another time. So it's important to be courageous and do the work. And we also have to be kind and compassionate while we're doing it. Take care of ourselves when it becomes too much. I got to tell you, it is worth the effort because every time we uncover the deeper meaning behind our anger, we can change the story we created. When we do that, we'll respond less and less with anger. When we take responsibility for our behaviors, then we can change them. The more we understand and accept our experiences and the meanings that we've given them, the easier it's going to be to change those meanings and stop being triggered so much by them and getting angry. For me, a big piece of this is forgiveness. Brian Jones, in his book, Forgiveness, Get Rid of the Gorillas of Pain, Anger, and Bitterness and Start Living. He writes, whether we like to admit it or not, those of us who struggle with an unforgiving heart also carry around a tremendous amount of anger. When we can't forgive, we're carrying all that anger with us. And author Anita Beverford writes in her book, Unleashing the Power of Forgiveness, forgiveness is the key to unlocking all the anger and hurt. The emptiness and darkness within is released to unleash joy, love, fulfillment, and light inside. Why did I wait so long? I could have been feeling this all along, you say to yourself. So a forgiving heart is a blessing. When we can forgive, we can release those deeper issues, feel less anger, and live from the love and joy and light that's within us. When we do, we'll wonder why we took so long to do it. I know forgiveness can be challenging, especially when we rehash everything and make ourselves feel all the pain and hurt that happened. But the good thing about forgiveness is we really don't have to do that. It's not necessary to relive it, to forgive it. We just recognize what happened and then we forgive. Edwin Gaines has a really simple forgiveness practice that I've used and it works well. I was skeptical at first, but I did the practice and I felt so much better. I felt some of that weight off of my shoulders. And what she has you do is create a forgiveness statement, a really simple statement, and then you say it 70 times a day for 7 days. So the statement, the basic statement would be, I, Laura, forgive myself completely. Or I, Laura, forgive John completely. If you're really angry about a specific thing, you can be more specific, kind of like, I, Laura, forgive John completely for burning the house down. Okay, that's an example. No one burned a house down, but that's when you really have something that you're having trouble forgiving, a specific thing. And when you just say this consciously, 70 times every day for 7 days. And you don't want to rush it. You want to be there with every word. We talk faster than we write, and I find myself rushing things. So what I did is I wrote it 70 times a day so that I wouldn't be tempted to rush it. And by writing it slower, I was present with every word, and it really made a difference. And it's really simple. If you get a chance, try it. It works. You know, and there are many forgiveness practices out there. And I would encourage you to try a few of them and then continue to use the one that resonates with you, because forgiveness is for you. It's not for anyone else or whoever you may be forgiving. And it impacts how much anger we have in our life, but it also impacts so many areas in our lives. I mean, Edwin Gaines talks about it in opening us to prosperity. So I may come at it wanting to release my anger, but in the process, I'm going to get more prosperous. So I think it's a great tool that we have, a great process that we need to use for the things that we're stuck in and that need to be forgiven. But what about when we're right in the middle of the anger? We are ready to lash out and say or do something we won't be happy about. And this is when we kind of have to pause. We have to find the calm in the chaos. It's kind of like getting into that eye of the storm. All the anger is floating around, but you still are tapping into that calmness which lives inside of us. So we shift our consciousness to peace. And that peace that lives within, that's really God within us. So the challenge is catching ourselves in the moment of anger and choosing peace. Because when we can do that, when we turn our attention from anger to peace, we shift our internal experience. And by shifting our internal experience, we then shift the external experience. We change everything around us from the inside out. All of our experiences of life are from the inside out. But I know being able to tap into this feeling of peace on demand, it takes practice. And we have to know what peace feels like. We have to know the experience of peace to recreate it in the moment. And that's where our spiritual practice comes in. And connecting with the divine gives us this experience of peace. When I'm connected with God, there's only peace. And I find that for me, meditation and prayer work the best for me. Being still and open to the presence of God is so calming and uplifting. I feel the peace of being, that peace of being one with God and in the present moment. And, in meditation, we're going to have stray thoughts, but if we just let them come and go, we can just sit there and know that peace. There's going to be stray thoughts that just kind of stay there. But that's when we just start over, go back to our breath work, let those thoughts go. Because once we focus on our breath, we can't focus on those thoughts again. And it gives us a chance to just be in that space and let us feel that peace. And this is building our mental equivalent so that we can pull on it when we need it. I know for me, when I get distracted, I'm start planning or I just follow one train of thought. When I come back to my breath, it's really easy to get back into that space. It just takes, 2 or 3 breaths and I'm there. It's funny. I always heard that you should meditate for at least 20 minutes and you should do it every day, morning and evening. And I think that is a great goal. And I also found it so intimidating at first because I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit still that long. And sometimes I can't sit still that long. I aspire to 20 minutes morning and evening, but I feel as long as I take some time and enter that space every day, even if it's only for 5 minutes, I'm connecting with God and I am feeling this peace. I'm reminding myself that I know what peace feels like. And if I happen to get into anger that day, I'm ready to tap in a moment's notice. Something I like to do to just even build the power of my meditation is do my prayer work, do a spiritual mind treatment just before I end my meditation. There's something about being connected, already being in that state of peace that makes the treatment feel amazing. The thoughts and words flow easily and effortlessly, and just I get this deeper feeling of God within me by doing that treatment at the end of my meditation. If you haven't ended your meditation with a treatment, give it a try. It just raises the whole experience to a new level. And I know treatment always feels wonderful. There's just that extra oomph or whatever you want to call it when it's combined with meditation. So that's how we get that mental equivalent, how we know what peace feels like so we can go there when we notice that we're stepping into anger. And when we're in the moment of anger, even if we know what peace feels like, there's going to be times when you're not going to get there. And that's when you just got to stop and walk away. And you let whoever you're angry with, if there is a person involved in that, it's not just yourself, you let them know that you need time and you walk away. Seneca or Thomas Paine, depending on where you find this quote, said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." When we disengage and give ourselves time to explore why we're angry, we're counteracting that anger. And sometimes when we delay, the issue actually goes away naturally. So when you're in that space, just trust your guidance and intuition. Got to remember to be aware in our life so that we catch ourselves when we're angry and If we can't get to the peace, just trust yourself and step away. One other thing I'd like to talk about is self-care with anger. Anger can really do a number on your body and your mental state. Physically, anger can cause your blood pressure to go up and give you headaches. You can feel pressure in your head and in your sinuses. And once that adrenaline rush is over, you can feel really tired and fatigued. I mean, anger can leave residual irritability and maybe a feeling of being overwhelmed. So it's really good to take care of yourself, ground yourself, get centered. You can use meditation or focused breathing. Just standing barefoot on the earth, like real dirt, not cement, can help you feel grounded, reconnects you to all of life. So when you come out of anger, do something to calm yourself and release that tension. I like to go for a walk or take a warm bath. I didn't really relax until I was in my early 30s when I was getting a massage, and she told me to take an Epsom salt bath afterwards to help release the toxins. You can't do anything in a bath. Everything's wet. So all I could do there was sit there and relax. And taking the time to relax is an amazing feeling. It recharges you to move forward. The point is to let go of the anger and really be present in your body and treat yourself with kindness and compassion. Something else you can do is give yourself permission to talk about what's going on. Sometimes we just need someone to listen and be a sounding board. We've got the wonderful practitioners. They are trained to listen. They always see you as the highest and best that you are. And they can offer feedback, validate what you're thinking. It's just a wonderful way to care for yourself. We're always going to get angry. It just happens, and that's okay. It's like everything else. It's what we do with the anger, how we respond that matters. Because anger is a natural emotion. It has messages for us. It isn't all bad. It can save your life. It can help you change. It can just be a signal that something isn't right. And in my past, anger has been the motivator for me to actually get up and do something that needs to be done. So the more we pay attention and use the opportunities to explore what drives us to anger, the better our life can be. The goal isn't to eliminate anger. It's to use anger to understand ourselves, and from that understanding, change our lives. We tap in to that inner peace and calm. We look anger in the eye. We embrace the gifts of anger and do our work, do our spiritual work, and the anger that is hindering us fades. Anger is a great emotion if we pay attention, if we let ourselves feel it and we find out what's going on that's causing it and work through those things. So don't be afraid of your anger. Feel it, find out what's going on, and then tap into your better life. Thank you.